You know, whenever people talk about cars getting better over time, they're usually talking about numbers: more horsepower, faster lap times, better fuel economy, more technology, and on paper, they're absolutely right. Modern cars are objectively faster, safer, and more efficient than ever before. But I don't think that's the whole story. Because if newer always meant better, why do so many enthusiasts still dream about cars from the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s? Why do people spend huge amounts of money restoring old cars when they could buy something newer, faster, and more reliable? I think it's because old cars offered something that's becoming increasingly rare. They made you feel something. Back then, cars were mechanical. The steering wasn't filtered through layers of software. The throttle wasn't interpreted by a computer deciding what it thought you wanted. The car responded directly to you. When you turned the wheel, you felt the road. When the tires lost grip, you knew immediately. Every vibration, every movement, every sound was communicating something. The car wasn't doing the driving for you. You were. And that's what created the connection. Today, many cars feel isolated from the driving experience. They're incredibly capable, but they're also incredibly filtered. It's like the difference between playing a real instrument and pressing a button that plays the note for you. The result might be technically better, but the experience isn't the same. And nowhere is that more obvious than with manual transmissions. Now, don't get me wrong, modern automatics are amazing. They're faster than humans. They shift quicker. They're more efficient. And around a racetrack, they'll almost always win. But driving isn't always about winning. It's about enjoyment. It's about involvement. There's something satisfying about perfectly timing a shift, matching the revs, working the clutch, feeling the car respond exactly the way you intended. When you nail a smooth gear change, it feels like an achievement. It's something you did, not something a computer did for you. And that's why people still love manuals, despite all their disadvantages. They turn driving into an activity instead of a task. Then there's the design. Look at cars from decades ago. You could identify most of them instantly. Each manufacturer had its own personality, its own style, its own identity. Many of those cars look like they were designed by artists rather than committees. They had character. They had soul. Today, most cars are designed around regulations, crash standards, fuel economy targets, pedestrian safety requirements, manufacturing costs, and market research. And while those things are important, they often come at the expense of beauty. The result is that so many modern vehicles end up looking similar, particularly SUVs. Walk through a parking lot today and you'll see dozens of vehicles that blur together. But look at footage from the 80s and 90s. You see coupes, sports cars, compact sedans, wagons, unique shapes everywhere. Cars had proportions that made them interesting. Low roof lines, long hoods, distinct silhouettes. And then there were the little details. Pop-up headlights, T-tops, louvered rear windows, analog gauges, unique interiors. Manufacturers were willing to experiment. Cars had quirks. They had personalities. Not every idea was practical. But that's exactly what made them memorable. It's hard to imagine many modern cars becoming icons in the same way. Another thing I've noticed is the colours. Watch old footage from almost any decade. You'll see reds, blues, yellows, greens, oranges, browns. Entire streets full of colour. Today it feels like we've collectively agreed to live in a world of white, black, grey and silver. It's almost dystopian. A sea of identical shades moving through identical traffic. And maybe that's a small thing. But colour adds life. It adds individuality. It makes cars feel special. Then there's simplicity. Old cars didn't have giant screens everywhere. They didn't beep at you every 5 seconds. They didn't have menus hidden inside menus hidden inside menus. Most things were controlled with a button, a lever, or a switch. You got in, started the engine, and drove. Sometimes less really is more. Today, many cars feel more like consumer electronics than automobiles. The focus often seems to be on features that look impressive on a specification sheet. Bigger screens, more sensors, more automation, more technology. Meanwhile, some of the things enthusiasts actually care about, steering feel, engagement, character, are slowly disappearing. And let's not forget maintenance. Older cars were generally easier to work on. You could open the hood and actually see the engine. Many repairs could be done with basic tools. You didn't need specialized software just to diagnose a problem. Of course, old cars weren't perfect. They broke more often, they were less safe, they rusted, they leaked. They had plenty of flaws. But somehow, those imperfections made them feel more human, more alive, more authentic. And after trying to drive modern cars, and cars like this old WRX STI, I plan to keep enjoying this old car daily, especially on a mundane drive to work. The old cars bring joy. No one hangs a picture of a bland SUV on the wall, or puts that as their screensaver. While many people like myself have a big chunk of their photos being their old classic cars. And maybe that's what this whole conversation comes down to. Modern cars may be better machines if viewed as an appliance, but older cars were often better experiences. They demanded more from the driver. And because they demanded more, they gave more back. They weren't just transportation. They were companions. They had character. They had personality. And most importantly, they made every drive feel like an event. That's why so many enthusiasts continue to love them. Not because they're faster, not because they're more practical, but because they remind us that driving can be more than simply getting from one place to another. It can be something worth remembering.